hate to say it, but we need to talk about the Duggars again.
You had some mixed reviews in the comments. There was a healthy amount of people that were like, please don't.
Oh,
These
for the
people are
deep dive, I know
disgusting.
they are so disgusting, and they're getting more disgusting by the minute.
Mhm.
And every time I think about them, I'm just disgusted.
Grossed out.
Yeah, so grossed out. So the biggest update right now, again, at the time of this recording, because a couple weeks ago you guys came for my throat. You're like, there's new news. I'm like, okay, well, I can't release this in real time. But the biggest update as of right now relates to what we talked about last week, which was that Joseph Duggar had his bond set at $600,000 back on March 31st. And sure enough, that very same day, disgusting ass Duggar bonded out. Which, let's just pause there for a second, because the amount that they likely had to pay to get him out of jail is much smaller than $600,000, but it's also not a small number. It's usually 10% of the total bond amount that needs to be paid to be released. So in this case, that would be 60 grand that needs to be paid up front. And according to reports, his wife Kendra was the one who bailed Joseph out. But the question was, where'd she get that money? Now, sources say that she actually moved out of their house and that she put it on the market as a rental, and that she's been selling off their personal belongings. Things like trailers, a pressure washer, a wood splitter, even things like a four-wheeler, like, an ATV. Big ticket items that would certainly have a higher price tag. Things that realistically people don't just usually sell off unless they need that money or they are upgrading to something better. And something here also tells me that they aren't going to be buying the newest, latest, and greatest equipment to replace what they're selling. It looks like they need the cash. Now, the reason we even know about this is because of the recorded jail calls between Kendra and Joseph. In some of those calls, they were actively trying to figure out how to come up with the money that was needed. And when you really do stop and think about it too, these don't sound like things that they are using on a regular basis or really even need, especially if they end up in prison. So, selling them, it's not a bad idea. You're not going to use a pressure washer when you're locked up. You're not going to use an ATV, right? And a $600,000 bond, even if you're only paying a portion up front, plus the legal fees that you're going to have in multiple states for both of your cases, it's going to add up fast, and you certainly are going to be needing, that cash money. But even though he's out now, it's not a back to normal situation, not even close. One of the biggest conditions of his release is that he cannot have unsupervised contact with minors, including his own children. And then you also layer in everything that's going on with his wife, Kendra, because we've talked about that as well on here. According to reports, Kendra also does not currently have her children with her. And allegedly, she can't see them for about a month following everything that had unfolded. I guess CPS intervened, and it's a month until she's even able to have supervised visits. But even that, I think, is a little bit of a gray area right now. But some of this is coming directly from Joseph's sister, Anna, who, by the way, is married to Josh Duggar, the foul, disgusting human being who is in federal lockup for all of his CSAM stuff that's been going on. So Anna had sent an email to Joseph the morning after Kendra was arrested. And Anna said, quote, "She was strong on the phone call, except for when she talked about it being a month before she can see the kids." So a lot of people have been running with this whole thing of she permanently lost custody. Great, the kids are safe. But just to be clear, that hasn't been confirmed. Not yet anyways. Apparently, these are just temporary restrictions that are tied to her own charges and not just Joseph's charges, which I want to just talk about this for a moment too. We talked how Kendra's charges were for false imprisonment and child endangerment, and it was because when the police went to investigate the house due to Joseph's crimes, they found locks on the outside of the children's doors. And so it was 4 counts, I believe, in total, or for each charge. So what I'm hearing now, and again, we're going to vet this, confirm it, but as of right now, it has not been confirmed. But what I am hearing is that it was, in addition to those locks on the outside of the doors, it was also the living conditions in which was happening inside that house. Don't think House of Horrors, like feces everywhere and food everywhere, but obviously not great living conditions for children to be in. And then the doors are, of course, one of the things that stood out most, having locks on the outside of them.